Hello class, my name is Nathaniel Bronson and I'm here to talk to you guys about answering objections. How do we do so persuasively and why? Answering objections. As a recap, the title of this chapter is Skeptics May Object. It is our job as writers to anticipate these objections that others may say against you. Doing so actually enhances our credibility as writers. It does not undermine it. According to They Say, I Say, we as writers are trying to convey a point, hoping that what we say will hold up against others' negative comments. And this is okay to have these negative comments. It means that as a writer, we are engaging the readers into dialogue or debate. Think of writing as an act of entering a conversation. Writers should predetermine opposing arguments ahead of time so we can plan these arguments that work for us rather than against us. A couple of key points you might want to look at too is, you might want to also consider persuading your readers, not bullying them, and make concessions while still standing your ground. Remember, you always want to build your argument to be an impenetrable fortress. So what is a concession? Technically, a concession is a place you can go in a movie theater to go get snacks and popcorn and stuff like that. But in this case, for writing and debate, it's something that is done or agreed to usually reach an agreement or approve a situation. Now, as writers, we're going to come across counter arguments. And if we do not entertain these counter arguments, we are presenting ourselves as closed-minded. So if we do not address these counter arguments, we are not even preparing ourselves for responses to those who question what we claim. So the more we entertain these objections, the more we are going to disarm these critics. So if we prepare ourselves ahead of time and embrace the skeptic and write about it, we can actually shut down these counter arguments before the skeptic can point them out. By doing so, we're not only showing respect to our readers and our skeptics, we're also trying to show them that we're not trying to deceive them. So here in this slide, I have some templates for making concessions while still standing your ground. So this is going to show a way of agreeing with your skeptic or the counter arguments while at the same time claiming the validity that you have. So for example, you can say proponents of X are right to assume X, however, they exaggerate their claims of X. So another popular one to say is, I do agree with so-and-so that X, but nonetheless, I still insist that X. So these are great templates to show your readers how you're addressing these situations while simultaneously holding your grounds to your beliefs and claims. Things to avoid. Make sure any counterargument you address is not more than convincing than that of your own claims. Never dismiss any objection. This does not support rationalizing whatsoever. You always want to empathize with your reader and you want to put yourself in their shoes and see if they can put themselves in your shoes. Try not to refute arguments completely. Instead, like the concession, you want to agree with part of what their statement is while still challenging the other part you wish to dispute. The goal here isn't so much to try to discredit what they say. What you're trying to do is stretch your persuasion to convince them of your claims. So here I have some examples of answering objections while using concessions on some very controversial topics. These topics do not reflect my views. I have no opinions on them whatsoever. I just want to use them as a great example for us in the class. So, for example, pro hunting. While it may be true that some of those hunt unethically for sport, which eliminate the healthiest members of the species, this does not necessarily mean that all hunters kill animals for sport. Many ethical hunters harvest the animal for food, and unlike a cow or chicken, the animal has lived a free and wild life, not raised in a cage for slaughter. You can hear the not necessarily is a reference to the concession. So even though we are emphasizing the disagreement, we're still standing our ground. I'm going to read to you another example with the anti-medical marijuana. While it may be true that marijuana can relieve the muscle spasms that is associated with multiple sclerosis, this does not necessarily mean it should be used as a form of treatment due to cancer-causing compounds. So same thing. This does not necessarily mean is the way we use the concession for the argument. So remember, guys, the goal here when answering objections persuasively is to not mock our reader. It can create hostility, and the last thing we want to do is ridicule our reader. The goal here is to not prove whatever we say is right and they're wrong, but we want to stretch the limits of our thinking. By addressing these objections early in our writing, it's not necessarily a bad thing because we're changing our perspective. And you know what? If we do change our minds, so be it. The beauty is that is what the academic world is all about. Thank you.